looks like it's time for the 4th edition of my anticipated games list, and just like most of the times I've made these lists, only 5 games will be on here, since there weren't as many cool looking games shown. But now I'm going to include one per series, not one per franchise, because I feel there aren't enough games from different franchises that look like they would deserve anything higher than a C. But don't worry, only one franchise on this list will have 2 representatives. And at least we can say we have another first from my anticipated games list. At least now that Kingdom Hearts 3 is out, it's my first time doing one of these lists that doesn't have that game on it. So, here we go again. Mario Maker 2 may be a game that's pretty much right around the corner, but who says I can't include it? I mean, there's no rule against putting a game that's very close to us on a list of games we're excited for, just like how there's no rule of having entries from very recent games. What were we talking about again? Ah yes, Mario Maker 2. Since I presumably can't make ROM hacks without supporting piracy, Mario Maker is the best legal way we can do stuff like this. I can't wait to recreate some of the stages I already did in the first Mario Maker. My stages were pretty much just reduxes of other Mario levels or movie stages that are kind of like this one Shrek level that somebody once created. Get it? As I was saying, with more stage parts, including the new night-day system, my stages will likely be more believable. My only worry is that, like with the first Mario Maker, it seems like it'll get dull after a while, just like with the first game. And as happy as I am to see 3D World being represented in this, I might even get tired of that game too, considering that's my favorite Super Mario Bros. Style game. Nevertheless, I can't wait to try out my old ideas with the new stage parts. This year's E3 wasn't bad in any way, but it shows that I didn't enjoy Nintendo's E3s as much as I used to think. The games I showcased were either currently uninteresting to me, or just games we already knew about. But there was some light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, not entirely. There was some darkness, since it also looks like my worries of Breath of the Wild being the new formula with weapon durability meters and lack of story progression was a justified worry. But they announced that it was a sequel to Breath of the Wild, not a completely new type of Zelda game, so maybe it might not be the new... I'm not going to finish that sentence. Every time I speculate something awesome happening, it doesn't happen at all, so I'm not jinxing it. Well, Breath of the Wild, even in spite of how it could end up negatively impacting the franchise and taking away what made it one of Nintendo's greatest franchises, was still on its own a very fun game. Getting to explore a gigantic overworld, seeing actual cutscenes with actual voice acting, being able to climb several different types of terrain, Zelda being the most beautiful, most distinct she's ever been, and even the cooking simulator, while repetitive, I didn't find it as redundant as I thought it was going to be. I expect this game to bring back at least 1 or 2... What the heck am I saying? I can't speculate because every time I speculate something I jinx it. Well, we do know for a fact that they are bringing back the expansive overworld, assuming that they're not pulling a World of Light on us and shoving everything potentially awesome into the beginning. Now, we don't really know anything about this game, but from the looks of it, it looks pretty nice. Fire Emblem Three Houses once again makes the list. I am a big fan of Fire Emblem, especially since most of their games actually end up being better than expected, especially the music. It still looks like it'll feel more war-based with the fact that you can have troops helping you in some battles, assuming they don't scrap the idea. I'm also a bit curious to what the whole Three Houses thing will be like. Hopefully it ends up being a fun idea, and it seems like you will also be able to have a custom character again, if I'm not mistaken, and the ability to have characters get married again seems like it's also making a comeback. I only heard that off the Fire Emblem wiki, and it's been said many times that wikis can be wrong, but they usually aren't, at least to my knowledge, so it seems like we might expect the waifu simulator to return. And even if it doesn't, I did love every Fire Emblem game I've played, except Radiant Dawn, but most of the other games definitely got at least a B-. Though a part of me is worried because they didn't show a lot of gameplay, but from what we've seen, this game does indeed look awesome, and I can't really think of anything else to say, so time to enter the second half of the list. The first Luigi's Mansion was a pretty fun game. I mean, it could have been better by having more music and actually being scary, but I still like it, especially after seeing Fawful's Minions Top 10 Luigi's Mansion moments, which has even become a tradition for me to watch every October. If you know about my Halloween videos I like to watch playlist. Though I'm one of the few who prefers Dark Moon, since it had more music and let you explore 5 different mansions while still feeling like a haunted house and being a bit scarier than the first. And I bet it's obvious to pretty much all of you that I'm building up to Luigi's Mansion 3. I love the dark atmosphere in both games, because they did feel like games that could be played around Halloween. And yes, Peach is captured again, but this time everyone's captured, so it's probably okay. It also gives us another reason as to why it's a good thing that Luigi's Mansion got more attention, even in spite of the completely overused credits theme. If it didn't get more appreciation, we probably wouldn't have had Dark Moon or Luigi's Mansion 3. I kinda hope it comes out in October though, so we can have a true Halloween game, which is why I made myself wait until October to play Dark Moon. But I am excited for this spooktacular adventure. Wow, that's a line I don't say every day. Before we move on to number 1, I think it's about time to list off the honorable mentions. First up, there's Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. I had a lot of fun with Yooka-Laylee, even with the hate that it got, but I'm a bit let down by how their next game isn't Banjo-Kazooie style like the first. But in spite of what I said in the Breath of the Wild 2 segment, changing up the formula doesn't automatically make the game bad. Then there's the Link's Awakening remake for the Switch. I'd be more excited, but the claymation style throws me off. What makes something work in Kirby won't always work in a serious franchise like Zelda, especially if you know how Link's Awakening ends, which is especially upsetting since this will probably be the last traditional Zelda. And unless the claymation grows on me, I'm gonna do everything wrong with the original Link's Awakening instead of this version. And lastly, we have Freedom Planet 2. The first game is good, but it was also super frustrating in several points of the game, and I think I might also be getting a bit tired of classic Sonic-style games after Sonic Mania, so I guess this game would probably be my number 7. As long as it actually comes out, since it's been announced years ago and still isn't here. Of course, Pokemon Sword and Shield would be number 1. As most of you know, I love Pokemon, so it's obvious that I'd be excited for these games. First off, because it'll bring us into a whole new generation of Pokemon. We'll meet many new Pokemon and plenty of new characters. From the new waifu Sonia, who was so popular she actually had a lot of fan art drawn of her mere hours after being revealed, to Leon, the champion, who they themselves confirmed was the champion, which, while it's disappointing, at least I won't have to hide from spoilers as much as I did in the past couple generations. The Dynamax battles sound awesome too, but I am a bit nervous that they just might feel gimmicky. Also, last year's big Pokemon game was mostly C+ worthy, but then again that's mainly because it was another Kanto game, and it was made in one of Nintendo's weaker years. But there are a few Pokemon that, while I don't think sound bad, I have a problem with some of their designs. Grookey is yet another monkey Pokemon, Scorbunny, while it looks awesome, seems like it might be another firefighting type, and even though I don't have much complaints about Sobble, the legendaries look like the same Pokemon except with the Sword and Shield differences. I'm also worried because even though the new vocal song that was revealed in the June 5th Direct was a cool song, it brings back terrible World of Light flashbacks. But the rest of me says this game will be great, especially since from the looks of it, seems like it actually has the overworlds and battles right at the rate they should be. Besides, even though all the top spots on my previous anticipated games list, only one of them made my expectations, but that game was a new generation, so this should hopefully be the same deal. It turns out that we also have a new open world system, which might end up changing the formula, but unlike Breath of the Wild's design changes, this doesn't seem that bad, aside from how it seems to have less routes, and how it might not have every Pokemon from the past generations. They do have a good reason because it would be hard to fit them all in, but I still don't know how long it'll take for me to get over it. It's still looking like what Pokemon should do with its great cinematics and new Pokemon. Without many questions, Pokemon Sword and Shield easily make it to the top of my E3 2019 games list. I am at a 527 the second, and let's hope this generation is as good as it sounds.